Hi, and welcome to the recap of Game 6 of the FIDE Women's World Championship match between Wenjun and Lei Tingjie. After yesterday's loss, Wenjun tried to play very safe for long-term advantage and test her opponent defensive abilities in those slightly worse position. But we can say that Lei Tingjie passed this exam with excellence. Let's jump into the action. So the first surprise came as soon as move 3, and when Wenjun decided to deviate with taken on d5, and the line that both players chose leads to a very long line, which ends up in an end game where White has a bishop pair, but Black has slightly more developed pieces, and White is currently having some issues with her king, which is a little bit weakened, giving Black a big counterplay needed. All in all, the position is very balanced. White might hope for some very slight advantage, and we were kind of thinking that Wenjun is going for a very long game, trying to outplay her opponent in this endgame. However, Lei Tingjie played very confidently, very fast, and as soon as here the world champion started spending a lot of time on her clock, on the beginning with this move Rook e1. The main ideas here is that White wants to exchange both rooks and exchange a knight for one of Black's pieces, and then be left with the bishop pair, which would give her very good winning chances. However, it's not easily done, and Lei Tingjie played very confidently, very strongly, putting the rook on the c file, preventing any kind of options for White, for instance, to exchange the rooks, because then Black manages to create a very strong counterplay against the weakened king. So the way Wenjun went with bishop g5, she found an option to exchange one rook, but the other rook cannot be exchanged, and this is a very strong move, bishop d3, forcing the bishop either to retreat to d1 or to be exchanged, and thus getting rid of the only advantage in White's position, the bishop pair. Wenjun decided to keep the bishops, but now Black is getting a lot of space advantage. The pieces are very well placed, and Lei Tingjie played very confidently until the very end, until the equalization. Here a simple rook d7, using the fact that bishop, then if the bishop is taken, the bishop on d1 will be hanged. All in all, here we can already state that there is really no danger in Black's position, and we can see a very important pattern here, that a knight and a pawn cover all the entrance pawns, squares, preventing the White king from entering the position. So the game continued a little bit, and now after g5, you could argue that it's even White who needs to be slightly careful, although it's still, of course, is very drawish. Just an example of the dangers that could possibly be going on in in this position is, for instance, had White played king c4, rook f5, threatening g4, and for instance, if knight d4, it would be a very big blunder, because after rook c5 check, rook d5, the knight is pinned. White needs to protect it with the rook on e4, but then f5 and king f6, the rook would be trapped. And look at this position. After knight b4, White is in Zugzwang. It cannot move any of she cannot move any of her pieces, because, for instance, if the knight goes back, there's checkmate on d3. So, but this is, of course, an anecdote. The players did not reach any of this. After exchanging the pawns, exchanging the rooks, they liquidated into an absolutely drawn endgame, and eventually they exchanged all the pawns, and here a draw was agreed. All in all, after the first half of the tournament, the challenger Lei Tingjie is leading by 1 point. She is playing very confidently, but we're still half a match ahead of us in Chongqing. The next 2 days will be days off for travel, and all the action will resume with Game 7, where when Lei Tingjie will be white in Chongqing. See you then.